Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, is marking the 20th anniversary of their operation in Kazakhstan. Astana hosted an international conference attended by OSCE Secretary General Thomas Greminger, who highlighted the major areas of cooperation, such as military, political, economic, and humanitarian.
Более 1000 всевозможных мероприятий было за эти годы, за 20 лет проведено здесь, в Казахстане.
More than 1,000 various events were held in Kazakhstan, which contributed to the strengthening of the social and economic foundation by our society and the development of the civil society. Our country's contribution in the military and political stability and security is valuable.
Стабильность так называемого сообщества безопасности, он неоценим.
One important takeaway is that I want to make sure that now these two major cooperation endeavors on judicial reform and on police reform, that these projects are rapidly published, that we mobilize resources, and that we can rapidly start implementation of these projects.
OSCE is a European organization with 57 participating countries. Annually, one of the member countries holds the chairmanship, with the foreign minister serving as the chairman in office. Kazakhstan held the OSCE chairmanship in 2010. Kazakhstan Stock Exchange and Moscow Exchange signed a cooperation agreement related to equities market. According to experts, the agreement is important for the strengthening of the international financial platform of the Eurasian Economic Union and also provides the opportunity for the stock markets to easily trade securities and attract more investors. The Russian Stock Exchange acquired 20% of Kazakhstan Stock Exchange shares. The amount of investments and tools are being discussed by the stock exchange experts. Some of the advantages available with the Kazakhstan Stock Exchange and Moscow Exchange partnership includes the opportunity for Kazakh companies to sell their shares in Russia, as well as transfer of technology and exchange of experience between issuers, shareholders, and traders.
В лице московской биржи мы определили надежного.
We identify Moscow Exchange as a reliable strategic partner for Kazakhstan Stock Exchange. We are planning to implement many projects that will benefit the economies of our countries. First of all, we want to focus on the securities market and the corporate issuers. I think that we have vast cooperation opportunities.
А мы приносим самое дорогое, что у нас есть. Это наш опыт. Это наше ноу-хау.
We are set to share the biggest assets that we have, our experience and innovations. The amount of foreign members at the stock exchange is growing, totaling almost half of the stock and derivatives markets. The domestic demand is gaining momentum because we put a lot of effort to attract our citizens in the stock operations. The proportion of securities in the population's assets and savings has doubled.
Ценных бумаг в активах населения и в сбережениях населения.
Proactive foreign policy will contribute to Kazakhstan's successful modernization. In his State of the Nation address, Kazakh President Nursultan Nazarbayev identified the need to continue maintaining and developing diplomatic, trade and politic cooperation with other countries. According to member of Majlis, the lower house of the Kazakh parliament, Kudaibergen Yerjan, Kazakhstan's balanced relations with and the large market players contributed to the growth of Kazakhstan's economy.
Это прежде всего заслуга нашего президента и вообще нашего народа, трудолюбивого народа. То есть каждый инвестор, приходя...
Our president and our hard-working people made all these achievements possible. Investors arriving in Kazakhstan have a lot of opportunities as there are investment guarantees which are supported by the policy of our country. These improvements allow us to achieve great accomplishments in our economy. We are improving labor and education in our country by attracting investors from the developed countries.
Инвесторов от таких развитых стран, то есть приводим культуру труда, культуру образования.
Another important topic of the President's address is protection of business and support for industrial projects. For these purposes, the head of state assigned to allocate money from the National Fund to the National Bank.
Конечно, индустриализацию никто не останавливает. В этом году
This year, 110 projects will be launched. The president assigned to additionally allocate 600 billion tenge for 3 years, which will be invested into industrial projects only.
Только идти на индустриальные проекты.
According to FDI Intelligence analytical publication, which annually provides an up-to-date review of global investment activity, the on-two-stick Special Economic Zone joined the rating titled Free Economic Zones. The Shymkent Special Economic Zone has become a winner in 5 nominations and was awarded the special prize Editor's Choice Great Prospects. The ranking compilers, who annually evaluate the work of nearly 50 free economic zones, highlighted the achievements of the on-two-stick Free Economic Zone in attracting investments from China, which is worth $140 million. Effective cooperation with resident companies, productive work with investors, and a significant expansion of production are taken into account in analyzing economic zones. The special economic zones have a major role to play in the country's economic development. Today, Kazakhstan has more than 10 special economic zones. In total, nearly 200 projects are being implemented in territories of the special economic zones. Today, more than 700 billion tenge have been invested into them. In order to attract foreign capital, the special economic zones are actively working with foreign businessmen, organizing excursions and showcasing potential presentations.
The officials and executive have done a great job into it. So we're going to go back to our country and write the appropriate report and see how to match investors who might be interested.
However, attracting investments is not the only goal of the special economic zones. The areas are designed to transfer new technologies and international business experience. The number of export-oriented enterprises is growing in Kazakhstan. More than 80 companies in the Akmola region supply their products to foreign markets. To implement Taza said in the Kazakh President's State of the Nation address, the companies of the region are ready to use all their resources to continue promoting their export capacities. The list of high-demanded products overseas are grains, agricultural seeds, flour, dairy products, meat byproducts, bearings, plastic bags, and soft drinks.
В основном мы экспортируем в первую очередь страны ЕС.
We export our products primarily to the Eurasian Economic Union countries. Our major consumers include Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Poland among the European countries. Afghanistan is the major flour consumer, as more than 40% of flour produced in Akmola region is exported to Afghanistan.
В Акмолинской области поставляется в Афганистан.
1/3 of the region's export-oriented production facilities represent various segments of the processing industry. In 5 years, local companies are set to double the meat and milk production and increase processing to 90%. The regional enterprises are planning to increase the poultry production to 80,000 tons by 2020. Export of the region's processed products total about $46 million. We are planning to increase our export volumes to reach the value of $106.9 million. Products from Akmola region are exported to Russia, Belarus, the Central Asian countries, and the Middle East. Local products are sold in the United Arab Emirates as well. The producers believe that the manufacturing sector will benefit from 500 billion tenge that President Nursultan Nazarbayev instructed to allocate to boost the non-resource-based exports. Tajikistan and Turkmenistan ratified a tax agreement aimed at the elimination of double taxation. The document will promote higher trade volume and investment attraction between the countries, according to a report by the Central Asian News Service. According to the statistic, the trade turnover between Tajikistan and Turkmenistan exceeded $37 million over the first 8 months of this year. The value grew by more than 15% compared to the same period in 2017. Kyrgyz economy is demonstrating growth. Kyrgyzstan's GDP grew by 58 billion som or $837 million over the last month, according to a report by 24.kg news agency. The largest share of the GDP accounts for the service sector, totaling more than 45%, while the industrial sector is estimated at 19%. According to experts, the growth was impacted by the increase of the production volumes at Kyrgyzstan's largest gold mining enterprise, the Kumtor gold mine, as the miners started processing larger amounts of gold. Tashkent will host the 8th Central Asian Trade Forum on October 17 and 18, themed New Prospects of the Development of Trade and Investments. According to analysts, the event reflects the growing openness of Central Asia for the regional and international trade, whose Daily News Service reported. The forum was organized by the United States Agency for International Development and the Uzbek Ministry of Foreign Trade. This year's event is expected to be attended by more than 1,000 delegates. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development has approved a new strategy for Uzbekistan. According to Gazeta.uz news agency, the 5-year document is aimed at strengthening the private sector, promotion of green energy, and expansion of cooperation. The financial institution is also set to promote investments to improve Uzbekistan's infrastructure and travel potential. Last year, the EBRD invested in 6 projects in Uzbekistan worth more than €153 million. Kyrgyz officials have started to digitally convert archival records as part of the country's Taza Koom transformation program. Video footage of local television will also be digitalized. The Kyrgyz television's archival rooms store over 50-year records of the country's social, political, and economic life. Here we store tapes with documentaries, original programs, feature films, children's programs, and concert records. This equipment is converting old footages into the digital format. The new archives will be stored on computer servers. The modernization will allow the channel to effectively use the footage filmed at various times. Some records will be provided to the state archives. The channel will send the copies recorded on discs. Specialists of the state archival identify the historically important footages. They sort them based on date. Afterwards, we send these records for the management's approval. We provide about 100 records to the state archives per year. Historical records of the Kyrgyz television will be available for journalists, and the records on Kyrgyzstan's establishment will be open for the public in the state archives. Kazakhstan is offering a unique destination to tourists. Travelers can now visit the planet's first spaceport. Since the beginning of the year, more than 1,000 foreign visitors have visited the Baikonur Cosmodrome, which is a symbol of a new era in history and all mankind. Today, 7 Kazakh tour operators offer their services in this area. Tourists' interest is growing every time. This time we brought 205 people, and the launch is from different countries like Germany, Australia, Austria, France, Belgium, Russia, and Kazakhstan. We carry our astronaut for each manned launch. This time, Yurkinchin Fyodor Nikolaevich arrived, who also conducts excursions and organizes conference for our tourists. The tourists aged between 25 and 40 are mostly interested in these tours. Tour operators say that the biggest influx of tourists account for the rocket launch. Usually more than 300 travelers from around the world come to see the start of a manned spacecraft.
Culture is great, weather is great. I believe it's quite hard to live here, and especially it was really hard to build such kind of starting place for rocket launches.
So I'm first time in Baikonur. It's really nice and it's a marvelous experience because actually it was my childhood dream. I was dreaming to get here all my life, and finally I'm here and it's great. I know that Baikonur was closed beforehand for the visitors.
In order to develop the region's tourist attractiveness, a large investment project, specifically a gaming entertainment tourist center, will be built in the Karmakshi region, which is about 70 kilometers away from the launch sites of the Baikonur Cosmodrome. There will be hotel, restaurant, water park, base attractions, and a planetarium. A house of books has been opened in Almaty. This is a completely new format of a store-library mix. Apart from purchasing literature, visitors can also get to know the authors, attend book presentations, become a participant of literary readings, and receive advice. The main mission of the House of Books is to attract the younger generation to read physical books. Most of the books are devoted to children's literature. Bright and colorful editions interest children and distract them from gadgets. Children come with their parents, sit down and work, and read the necessary books. All conditions are created for this. Of course, the children will read when they see their parents reading. Therefore, first of all, we must work with the older audience, including teachers. Various meetings and educational events are organized here. If a child is interested in a book, then he or she will be told about interesting facts and stories related to this book. Thus, the younger generation will be interested to read. Aidiye Aidarbekov is believed to be leading by example. He is one of the winners of last year's 100 New Faces of Kazakhstan competition. The young specialist successfully graduated from the New York Film Academy and returned to his homeland. Now he intends to fulfill his old dream, which is to create high-quality Kazakh films that will be in demand all over the world. I've dreamt of making films since my childhood. When I've got a chance to go all the way to the New York Academy under Bolashak, I applied immediately. Only when I arrived in Los Angeles, I saw palm trees in Hollywood and the Hollywood inscription. I saw that my dream has come true. Aidiye has been involved in many creative areas. He wrote poetry, stories, and even published a book. The young man is a producer and director of several short films, as well as a screenwriter of a Kazakh-British film, Flags Over Berlin. This is a story about bravery of Rakimjan Koshkarbayev. The whole script is about the Victory Day. Aidiye is a developer, musician, and athlete. He is ready to share his rich and diverse experience with the younger generation. A few days ago, a new English program for children, which is free of charge, was launched in Astana. Aidiye is one of the project volunteers. It is very important that our young people are led by example of their peers who have achieved their goals due to hard work and desire to work. The second stage of the 100 New Faces of Kazakhstan project continues in the Republic. The face of the country can be anyone from all walks of life in Kazakhstan. Astana hosted the Eurasia Stars International Festival, which connects talents of the world-renowned musicians. As part of the event, the Academy of Soloists, which is Kazakh Orchestra, gave a second concert at the Kazakhstan Central Concert Hall. The evening was led by French conductor Misha Katz. An honorable guest of the cultural event was famous Italian saxophonist Nicola Piretto. The joint program of 3 countries featured the Swan Lake Ballet Suite of Pyotr Tchaikovsky, Overture to the Thieving Magpie Opera of Rossini, and Diana of Alexei Shore.
Я обратил внимание, какое значение придает государство развитию культуры и искусства.
Since my first visit to Astana, I've noticed that the state pays great attention to culture and art. There are many talented and energetic young musicians. The orchestra's talent and great concert hall were a great surprise for me. The quality of a well-established building and sound acoustics are proud of the country.
Архитектуры и качество звука акустическое – это гордость страны.
It's very nice for me to discover Kazakhstan for the first time. It's very varied concert. There are different pieces. So in this concert we start with an overture, and then there will be the Verdiana by Alexei Shore for alto saxophone and orchestra, and it will be continued with a suite by Tchaikovsky. So I hope that public will enjoy this program.